Let me, as a preface, thank Regina Costello and Brother Ernest Miller for their support, and of course our panelists from this past Tuesday, Dr. Sarah Schumann, Dr. Adam Palillo, Father Kosek, and our moderator, Brother Ernest Miller. Minister Chan-Gonzaga has a very distinguished career with the Foreign Service and also as a representative of his country in the World Trade Organization. He is a career member of the Philippine Foreign Service and currently Minister for Economic Affairs at the Embassy. From 2012 to 2015, he was the Executive Director of the Department of Foreign Affairs in the Office of Legal Affairs. He is a lawyer by training. He was charge d'affaires ad interim of the Philippine Permanent Mission to the World Trade Organization in Geneva between 2011 and 2012, and also First Secretary at the Philippine Mission to the WTO from 2004 to 2010, before returning to Manila in 2011. He was the lead Philippine negotiator for the services and TRIPS negotiations, as well as in the DSU review process. He was also the coordinator for the ASEAN services negotiators. His background, his training, as I said, is in law. He has been a member of the law faculty of the Ateneo de Manila since November 1998. He has taught constitutional law, civil law, legal profession, legal writing, and a seminar in international economic law. He was part of the pioneer teaching team of the Ateneo Law School's Masters in International Economic Law program and taught a seminar on recent developments in international law, a seminar on the UN CLOS, and a course on the law of international institutions. And he has held various professorial chairs at the law school, including the Justice Jose Reyes Memorial Professional Chair. He joined the Foreign Service in 1997 after completing his JD degree from the Ateneo of Manila School of Law and admitted to the bar that following year. His bachelor's degrees from the Ateneo de Manila University in 1993 in interdisciplinary studies, specializing in political science and socioanthropology. So it's with great pleasure that I'm honored to present to you Minister JV, as he wants to be called. Welcome, Minister.
Thank you very much, Professor Cornelia, for that kind introduction. Brother Ernest, Father Kosek, and students and faculty of Salle University, good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. First of all, I guess let me express the deep regrets of Ambassador Jose Quisha, who's the Philippine ambassador to the United States. He was supposed to be the one to deliver these remarks this afternoon, but unfortunately he has traveled to Phoenix, Arizona, which couldn't be rescheduled. And but he would really have wanted to be here. He's an alumnus of the De La Salle University in Manila, and he actually got his MBA just in Philadelphia as well at the Wharton School of Business of the University of Pennsylvania. So I'm honored, and it's my pleasure to read before you this afternoon this keynote speech of Ambassador Quisha entitled "Development Centered on People, 2010 to 2016, a Story of Economic Empowerment." So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor and pleasure to address you today. Your presence and interest in the Philippines clearly reaffirm the vitality of the Philippine-American relationship, the 70th year anniversary of which we celebrate this year. And we hope this will only deepen and strengthen as the United States pursues its pivot or its rebalance to Asia. Friends, the central theme of my remarks today will be the economic transformation of the Philippines, which is due largely to the good governance program implemented by President Benigno Simeon Aquino III and the economic reforms undertaken by his administration. With growth rates of 7 to 10% projected for the next decade, and a report from the Global Research Department of Hong Kong Shanghai Banking Corporation predicting the Philippines to be the 16th largest economy in the world by 2050. The Philippine economic story consists of record-level macroeconomic and stock market performances, credit ratings upgrades, improvements in competitiveness rankings, high levels of foreign direct investment, increased tax revenues, and growing demand for world-class Filipino talent, all of which have resulted in unprecedented economic growth, greater international business confidence, and renewed optimism in the potential of the country. It is undeniable that the Aquino administration's good governance agenda is indeed bearing fruit, and the confidence of investors and our robust economic partnerships with key economies, such as the United States, constitute the solid foundations upon which our economic managers continue to promote the Philippines as fully open for business. These efforts become more vital if viewed in the context of the U.S. rebalance to Asia. In order to ensure the sustainability of our good governance dividends, the Philippine government remains focused on a menu of crucial policy areas. In the course of the last few years, the Philippines enhanced its market position and consumer protection mechanisms by pursuing a dynamic and growth-oriented legislative agenda. Important laws were enacted in order to increase our attractiveness for investment, but also to institutionalize the foundations of good governance, fair competition, and business transparency. Indeed, today is a great opportunity for us to take stock of the incredible performance of the Philippine economy and to bring attention to the successful reforms that have driven the country's economic transformation. However, to paraphrase the historian William Manchester, I do not think we have put enough years in between in order to contemplate in its entirety all of the Aquino presidency's 6 years and see larger patterns emerge. What I would like to do therefore today is to offer one very specific observation, and it is this: the narrative of Philippine economic growth is not only an exciting story about exceptional economic performance of the country, but inclusive growth also became the North Star of Philippine national economic policy. From day one, a challenge that the Aquino administration met head-on was the need to make the most of the scarce resources available to the government. Zero-based budgeting was instituted. Bottom-up budgeting also became the norm. Technology was harnessed to implement measures for transparency and accountability. Since corruption caused a vital leakage of scarce resources, the government vigorously tackled this complex and crippling national problem. Thus, tax evaders and smugglers were targeted by relentless law enforcement operations, as evidenced by the large number of cases filed in court against them. With more resources from the economic boom and savings from corruption, we invested in our greatest resource, the Filipino people. President Aquino himself has always said that the source of his bullishness on the Philippines, even before it regained economic prominence, was, and always will be the Filipino people. The President has been quoted as saying that, and I quote, "They have always been the greatest resource of my country, whether in the Philippines or overseas, whether in the boardrooms of top corporations or in the rural hinterlands of the provinces." Unquote. From 2010 to 2015, the social welfare and development budget increased 7-fold. The education budget doubled, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority's budget increased by 84%. All of these were achieved without raising any taxes, except for the sin taxes, the proceeds of which went to expanding medical services for the needy. Investing in the Philippines' healthcare is a vital element in the government's effort to make growth more inclusive under the Aquino administration, and I believe it will continue to be a vital sector for the incoming administration as well. The health sector budget for 2016 is 128.4 billion pesos, approximately $7.4 billion, and it accounts for 4.3% of the 2016 national budget. Investment in this sector has increased by nearly 30% compared to last year's 2015 levels. budget allocation to the health sector in terms of percentage of GDP has also increased from 0.69% in 2015 to 0.82% in 2016. Compared to 2010, when President Aquino first came into office, the total budget appropriations for health amount at that time amounted to only 0.01% of GDP, or a total percentage of 2.02% of the national budget. Therefore, if you look at the figures, the increase in health expenditure in the last 6 years grew at an average rate of 52.1% annually. As some of you may know, the Philippines has also implemented a universal healthcare plan, referred domestically in the country as Kalusugan Pangkalahatan, which is defined by the Department of Health as the provision to every Filipino of the highest possible quality of healthcare that is accessible, efficient, equitably distributed, adequately funded, fairly financed, and appropriately used by an informed and empowered public. By the end of 2015, universal healthcare coverage was at 82% of the population, or a total of 82 million Filipinos. The target for the end of 2016 is to bring that up to 95%, or to approximately 95 million Filipinos. Accounting for the largest share of the health sector's total budget in 2016 at 36.8% is the public health services subsector. It is noteworthy also that the allocation for public health services is larger than the allocation for hospital services. This demonstrates the significance that the Aquino administration has placed on ensuring access to primary health care that provides preventive and healthcare services for the poorest of the poor. As part of the government's effort to increase access to health, the Aquino administration has made significant efforts to increase the capacity of these primary healthcare providers, such as the barangay or village-level health stations and rural health units with well-trained human resources, essential equipment, and other requirements. I wish to emphasize that all of this was achieved, as I stated earlier, and more actually, without raising any taxes, except for the sin tax on alcohol and cigarettes, the proceeds of which went towards helping finance the expansion of medical services for the needy. Sustaining the sin tax during the next administration is considered to be an important element to scaling up investment in the Philippines' health industry even after the term of President Aquino ends. Educational infrastructure was also upgraded. The backlog of classrooms as well as shortages in seats and textbooks were all addressed at the beginning of the Aquino administration. I should also mention here that all of the educational programs are now being administered by Secretary Brother Armin Luistro, who is a Christian brother from Salle University in Manila. There are only 2 members of the cabinet who people wish will be retained after the change of administration in June of this year, and one of them would be Brother Armin as Education Secretary. Conditional cash transfer was also expanded from 7 billion pesos in 2010 to 48 billion pesos by the end of 2015. The Technical Education and Skills Development Authority is also working closely with the private sector to design and implement courses that give the poor people the best chance to attain a sustainable livelihood. Focus was also given to infrastructure with its multiplier effects on livelihood, connectivity, and economic opportunity. Access to medical services, as mentioned earlier, was also enhanced. As a result, poverty incidence decreased by 2.1% comparing the first semesters of 2012 and 2014. This is starkly different from the decline of only 0.2% from 2006 to 2009 and of 0.7% from 2009 to 2012. On the expanded conditional cash transfer program, which I can explain more in the open forum, the number of beneficiaries has gone from less than 800,000 households in 2010 to 4.4 million households by the end of 2016, of 2015, or roughly equivalent to 22 million Filipinos, or a quarter of the population. The employment rate of 6.4% is also already well within the Philippine Development Plan's targets of between 6.6 and 6.8%. And in October 2015, the World Bank stated that poverty reduction is expected to continue if the country is able to maintain the relatively high economic growth and better job trends in recent years. All of this only shows that if we harness our economy and our people properly, we can achieve inclusive growth. Ladies and gentlemen, before I end, let me just circle back to the specific question of health and development, which was the focus of your discussions last Tuesday, and may I offer some points for reflection. One, our experience demonstrates that oft-repeated advice that health is wealth. The President has always insisted that the greatest resource of our country is the Filipino people. As such, we have invested in our human resources. And investing in people did not only mean improving access to and delivery of educational services, or providing the resources needed for infrastructure or other enabling services. Investing in people meant investing in their health care and their well-being. This is important because only a healthy workforce can be efficient, competitive, dynamic, and productive. An unhealthy population can only create a drag on production and efficiency. Number two, our experience demonstrates that it is important to create the necessary positive policy space for investments in the healthcare sector. Foreign investments in particular provide opportunities for efficiency, better healthcare services and technology, capacity building, as well as transfer of expert knowledge to the local healthcare providers. And finally, our experience demonstrates that the healthcare sector, traditionally the domain of state-owned enterprises or public utilities, is now increasingly an area for private investments. It has also increased its contribution to economic growth and to GDP. The Philippines, for example, benefits greatly from increased investments in medical devices manufacturing, more opportunities for Filipino healthcare professionals and workers, and rising revenues from the healthcare business process and information management operations. Friends, ladies and gentlemen, 30 years ago, President Benigno Aquino's mother, Corazon Aquino, became the symbol of the political empowerment of the Filipino people. She became the embodiment of the restoration of our democracy. By her selflessness, faith, and simplicity, she brought back decency into government. She unshackled the press. She reinstated the supremacy of civilian authority over the military. And she presided over the first peaceful, democratic turnover of power since the declaration of martial law. Today, 30 years hence, it is her son, Benigno Simeon Aquino III, who as president has become the symbol of the economic empowerment of the Filipino people. President Aquino and his economic managers, in pursuing inclusive growth and investing in the Filipino, empowered our people to become greater participants and greater stakeholders in growing the Philippine economy. It is my hope, therefore, that the main lesson you will take away from the Philippine story is not only one of good governance, of competitiveness, and of economic growth. Rather, might you share with the rest of the world the inspiring narrative of inclusivity, of a development centered on people, on an investment that reaps dividends with a human face. Thank you all for being here today, and as we say in the Philippines, mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Thank you, Minister JV, for a substantive and uplifting talk.